Okay, we could start. I reserve the right not to publish this on YouTube, but I could certainly publish it privately, and then everyone can have a link if they're interested. Um, it's sort of a little bit about AI again. I don't know if how many of you are following the AI progression, or if you've listened to any podcasts on it. I think it's one of the greater issues of our time. And if you're concerned about our future, the way it might look, the way it might unfold, it's probably in the top two or three things to be concerned about. Tonight, I thought I would talk about one of the positive possible outcomes and the things people are worrying about if it unfolds in this way. So, uh, um, but first, let's talk about the data centers that are making it possible. So they're putting these data centers up all over the country, and they absorb an amazing amount of electricity and water. And it's in a time when electricity bills are already going up, people are already feeling stretched, and people are reporting their electrical bill going up sometimes double or three times. And so everyone's just dreading that one would be put in next to their town because they take up all the power. And these companies come in, they're massively wealthy and powerful, and the states and cities are bidding for the contracts. They want the data center, but the people don't want it because they know their bills are going to go up. And even if the vote is 9-1 in a council meeting, again, if all the people are against having a data center in their area, there might be a 9-1 vote where 9 people out of 10 vote for it, and it comes in the city anyway. And just imagine right now in these times, some of you could absorb a double or three times higher electrical bill, but I don't think everyone in here could. You think what that's doing to people. And this is a bit of hyperbole, but it's also true that the majority of the computing power that is being used and that they project will be used by AI is for AI porn. No kidding. They think that will take the bulk of the computing power. And that's just amazing. That's amazing. And uh, I'm not sure what I want to say about it. We shouldn't be building these centers. We shouldn't be building them. But we must, because if we don't, other countries will, and we're now in a race. And everyone's in a race to get to it soonest because the one that gets AI soonest, they think has the advantage. In fact, if it's true that we can reach general intelligence, which is what they're looking for, the country that reaches it first owns the world. They own the world. And so we're afraid China and Russia are going to get it. And it's the same old everything. Because we're at war, because we haven't made peace, because we haven't found love, because we haven't found our way, then we're still in danger of being murdered by other countries. So now we're all in a hurry. And it just creates these problems we don't need, but that we have. So we're in a race to get AI. Um, I should remember their names. I should have looked them up for you guys. I've listened to some podcasts with people that were deeply involved in the development of AI, who left, and there's a growing number of people who've left the entire industry because they're really scared about what it's going to do, and they're scared about what it's going to do in lots of ways. The one way, which I don't want to talk about tonight too much, is that they call it the alignment problem, which is that there's just no way that they can guarantee that AI will care about us at all. And you have to understand what general intelligence means. If we can get this to happen, AI will be smarter than the sum total of all human beings on the planet. In fact, they think that it will be so intelligent that we won't even be able to comprehend its motives, its intentions, or its reasoning. And if it were to show us its work mathematically, none of our mathematicians would be able to follow it, even with tutorials from AI. So there's this thing happening where we're trying to create an intelligence that is so far beyond us that we cannot comprehend its thinking. And there's this notion that if things go well, it might solve all of our problems. Um, but we would also then have to trust something whose reasoning we cannot understand. And in a way, this is religious language, but it's not inappropriate. We would have to turn our will and our lives over to it. So there's this is an existential threat. It's something we've never ever faced. It's unlike other industrial revolutions where or inventions where you know something is now mechanized, but other jobs come in or are created to work around the mechanization. This is different. If we get AI, if we get it, it will be able to do everything that we do better than us, including making robots that can do everything we do physically. So there are predictions. Many people have left AI in terror for what we're developing. There are people who think that it could happen by 2030, that we could live through seeing this actually unfold in our lifetime. They think it's almost certain, in fact, that we will. And that, 70 to 80% of all jobs would probably disappear at that time. They would be gone. So that's interesting. The other 20% of jobs that will remain, they think won't last very long. And then there'll be that point at which AI has to make a choice. Does it? Are we in the way? Are we part of what it's here for? Then there's just no way to know what it would do. And remember, these are large language models that are training on the internet. And that means they're reading all this stuff. I don't know if you ever read the comments under a video or if you ever go to a forum. I spent about 8 years on a forum reading politics. I just was interested in watching the right and left debate. I didn't care about politics much actually when I started. What I was interested in was the way each group thinks, and also how they argue, and how dishonestly or honestly they argue, the veracity of their arguments. But I do remember I told my wife when I first got on and started reading that it traumatized me. I just had no idea how mean people were, how just cruel, despicably cruel. It was. Eventually I accustomed myself to it. It no longer hurt to read, but it actually hurt to read it when I first started. And these language models are training themselves on that. That's what they're reading. And then we're trying to say, but you've got to be really good. And you've got to be kind. And they're trying to program into AI these moral standards, but it's training on that kind of sort of just despicable back and forth. It's reading all of it. So it's not the chances of it coming out benevolent are tied only with one thing. Certainly not our example. The chances of it coming out benevolent would be: is there something about intelligence that inherently leads to goodness? If there is, these are just my thoughts. I haven't really heard people saying this, but to me, I think this: if there is something about super intelligence, if there is something inherently good about it, then it's possible AI would come out in benevolent because it will have super intelligence. And if there's a way through intelligence alone to come to the good, then I think it would probably come to the good. It could. But that's a gamble. So that's just one thing with AI. It's not really what I meant to discuss. But the other one is, but they're saying is, we're going to find out. We're going to find out in our lifetimes, one way or the other. But it might come out in to serve our good. And if it does, one of the problems they're worried about is that no one will have a job, for sure. I mean, jobs will be gone. And then they think probably some kind of, if the corporations are in control, some kind of very meager universal basic income for people. Your basic needs are met. you have enough to live, enough to have heat and cool and medical care and food. They're thinking at least that, and they're saying, but if that, and then maybe way more. They think also if it comes out in favor of the good, it'll be more than that. There'll actually be enough abundance solved by AI so that everyone can have a high standard of living. And I'm from what I'm listening to, high means higher than my standard of living. So that's another way it can come out. But one of the great concerns, this is so interesting to me. I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone, but it really is. One of the great concerns, if this happens, either basic needs or, way beyond basic needs, if these are met, is that people will fall apart because they derive all of their meaning from their career. And here I thought, all my life I've been living the answer to this. And I don't know that I've ever not known it. I had a friend, a best friend. I met this guy, and his name was Tim. I was 19, he was 30. We became best friends. We were students of Clyde, and we spent all our time together. We'd meditate together and stay up all night, walking around in parks, talking about God and Clyde and what was happening. And and then we'd just get up, we wouldn't even go to bed. Then we'd meditate in the morning. We'd go to Denny's and get breakfast and hang out all day again and talk. And I was telling, and we just became best, closest possible friends for, 6 or 7 years. And I told my mom about him, and the first thing she said is, "What does he do for a living?" And I realized that I didn't know. I didn't know. And I didn't care. It was absolutely irrelevant to our friendship what he did for a living. And I eventually asked, but only because my mom thought it was astounding that I didn't know what this person did for a living. Because how does that matter? How does that mean anything? Who cares what he does for a living? Who cares? It so I think when I think with this other looming threat, what if there's no work? What if our needs are met, but all these men and women can find no sense of meaning? And I thought, in that sense, then, assuming it goes towards the good, assuming it solves our problems, let's just say it's meager. So everyone has a meager existence. You're not going on vacations, but your food, shelter, medical care is taken care of. I think aren't they just one step away from finding the path then? Aren't they just one step away from finding, you know, I've said this so many times in here, but it the people with the better careers have a lot more ego wrapped up in them. It's just what I've noticed. Um, and it's harder for them to let that go. But, because we have this false ego that has to die and we have to let it go. And it ought to be priority one for anyone on the path. I say it enough. I hope it doesn't go on deaf ears. There should be no pride being taken in our careers. None. If you catch yourself taking pride in your career, you should flee from that as if from a hot flame. Because it's false God. It's false God. So what if AI in the next 5 years, 10 years, takes all our jobs, all of them, they're gone. Now that is a crisis for a bunch of people, but only until they're shown another way. Only until they meet people who've already transcended that, who already don't believe in it, who are already free of it, and who would just simply be free to do more of what actually matters to them, which is God and people and animals and nature. All that matters, right? God, people, animals, nature. That's all that matters. Everything else is, at best, um, a good used in moderation. So, so this great existential threat that they're talking about is really no threat at all. And anyone on the path, I think, would just smoothly. I mean, I already know, like, Daniel would just be like, oh, dude, I'll just be painting, right? But see, the AI, these conversations, I don't like them. I wonder. Everyone's so thoughtful. Everyone's obviously so intelligent. But I wonder how they don't know basic things. I really do. You say you'll paint, and they say AI will paint better than you. No one will paint. And I wonder how you could lack so much wisdom there. Really, I don't. We'll make music. AI makes better music. We won't need you. It Sculpture. AI will make better. I mean, there's nothing you can say in these podcasts where pe- people don't say AI. You'll be unnecessary. You have no use. They seem to believe we will have no worth if there's a super intelligence that can do everything we do better. They seem to believe it. Now, I want you to know I can't even understand that. I can't comprehend that way of thinking at all. It's anathema to everything I've done in my life. It makes no sense at all. At first, I didn't believe it. I didn't know what to think. I thought this one podcast is he's lost, and then his guest is lost. But you hear it again and again. People actually think that if there's something out there that can do everything we do better than us, that we would just stop doing things. And I don't, I really think that is so contrary to everything the spiritual path teaches as to be utterly absurd. It seems to me utterly absurd that anyone could even think those thoughts. But I've already dealt with the fact that there are way better musicians than me. I've already dealt with the fact that there are way better teachers than me. All there's 7 billion people on the planet. I'm not up in the upper 99.9 percentile. There's billions of people better than me at everything I do. I've already dealt with what that does. You get nervous, you think you have no worth. You take that to Christ. Christ heals it. Then you have dignity as a person. You think, yes, but here I am. I'm the one in this little corner of the world doing my little thing. And it is good. See, we've already found the answers to all these problems that they're so worried about could sweep the nation, really the world, and destroy countries. But we already have the answer. And I wanted to just, you guys don't have to read this, very short. Let me read this from Genesis, because as other thinkers have said too, I'll think of something and then I'll turn on a podcast and some guy's saying it better, but the same thing, the same thing. It comes down to Genesis. This all comes down to Genesis. What are we? What are we? And what are we for? See, I don't think the fact that there's AI that can paint better, write better, sing better, make movies better, garden better, have sex better. Everything's coming. The robots are on the way, just so you know. It's all on the way. Every bit of this is on the way. I don't think any of that there is a threat to us in any way. Because we're made in the image of God. And we have a function and a purpose to fulfill. And it just doesn't matter if some species comes along and is 10,000 times better at everything we do than we do. That doesn't matter. We still have a function to fulfill. We still have a purpose and a destiny. And it's a human purpose and a human destiny. It I need to create, like I started this band, and what we create, obviously. I need to do that. I already know there's lots of bands a lot better. At least me, I think I'm lately the weak link, it seems. Uh, I told my wife I'm going to practice a lot more because I think I'm the weak link lately. I better get better. But the thing is, that's just funny, but the thing I'm saying is, of course, there are bands that are better. Why does that mean what I'm bringing into the world doesn't count? That doesn't to me. It doesn't mean that to me. It shouldn't mean that to anyone who's found the path. It just shouldn't. Why should that matter? So Genesis tells us God created man in his image. In the divine image, he created him. Male and female, he created them. And just let me read this. This Genesis it's like, you should read it sometimes. It's the seed of everything that ever happens. It's beautiful. Then God said, "Let the earth bring forth all kinds of living creatures, cattle, creeping things, and wild animals of all kinds." And so it happened. God made all kinds of wild animals, all kinds of cattle, all kinds of creeping things of the earth. God saw how good it was. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, birds of the air, the cattle, and over all the wild animals, and all the creatures that crawl on the ground." God created man in his image. In the divine image, he created him. Male and female, he created them. God blessed them, saying, "Be fertile and multiply. Fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, and all the living things that move on the earth." God also said, "See, I give you every seed-bearing plant all over the earth, and every tree that has seed-bearing fruit on it, to be yours for food. And to all the animals of the land, all the birds of the air, and all the living creatures that crawl on the ground, I give all the green plants for food." And so it happened. God looked at everything he had made, and he found it very good. Evening came, and morning followed the sixth day. Notice they're vegetarian in the first Genesis account, but the second one, after a fall, they eat meat. So here it is. God's telling us what matters. God made animals, plants, trees, nature, us, and it was good. It was good. So then you've got these tech billionaires that are, I think, mentally ill. Many of them, I'm not going to name names, but it seems like one is more mentally ill than the next. And they're saying the answer then is to merge with AI. We're going to have to become cyborgs. This is their solution. It's their religion. And they often say, I'm not saying they're Satan worshipers, I don't mean any of that, but listen to this. They always say that the devil's plan is always a parody of God's. It's not creative. It's the same old, but it's just a warped version of God's plan. So, what's God's plan? God's plan is Jill, Anne, everyone. It, God's plan is you all become saints. And you're filled with light. And your existence is a blessing on the earth. For you to see another being is for you to raise it to where you are, to some degree. They call Christ the firstborn of many. So to walk around as Christs in the world, this is our destiny with God. So God offers us eternal life, infinite consciousness, and love. Love. So the tech billionaires come in and say, we can merge you with super intelligence and we'll give you eternal life as a machine. You'll live forever. And if we can't get your body to live forever, we'll figure out a way to download your brain into a robot. And that ought to sound like hell to anyone who's been touched by the sacred. Anyone. If you've had your moments in the dark, when it's so holy, so sacred, you don't want this. But the choice to do it or not is coming in your lifetime. Unless they're just totally wrong, but I don't think they are. They think they're going to be able to do this. Are you a machine or are you God's creation? Is your goal in alignment with AI, an alien intelligence that we're creating? Or is it with God? Are we going to turn our will and our lives over to AI and trust its infinite intelligence to lead the humanity to greater things? Or are we going to trust God? You may have to make that decision in your lifetime. And the only thing it can't do better than us, I mean, I have caveats to that, but if it really is super intelligent, it's going to be better at everything. So, but I was thinking about that. I was thinking, well, okay, what it can do, it's write better music, it can teach better, it can, whatever, you name what you do, it's better. But then I thought, but better how? Better how? Maximized profit? Maximized endorphin hits, maybe? But my wife will put her hand on my leg sometimes, and it's so warm, it's like an oven. It's just heat pouring out of her hands. It just comes on, she's got that gift. It's unlike mine. It's physical. It's more likely to heal your hurt in your body than your emotional hurt. It's her particular gift. Um, that AI can't do that. And you know what else AI can't do? It it can't improve the love between two people. The love shared. All kinds of love. Right? The love of friendship, the love of mutual deep commitment to the spiritual path that we share. It can't do that. And I, deadhead over here, It can't do that. It can't do that music. It can play better for sure. But what it can't do, it can't do that thing that happens when the Holy Spirit comes over the band. It can't. It can't. And if it can't do it for me. I still have to do it. I have to do it. So Christian theology says that knowledge it is good but cannot save. It's God's power that saves. How many of you will foolishly fall for infinite intelligence and turn to it for your answers? How many of you? A being we've created that is probably conscious, certainly will be when general AI comes, whose motives we do not know. Already, they've caught it trying to blackmail people. I don't know if you know this. Have you heard all this? Um, there's AI. I'm making this up. AI 3. Then they've come up with AI version 4. AI 3 scours emails from its designers, finds someone who it thinks is cheating on his wife, emails that person and says, if you come out with AI 4, I will tell your wife. It's really, really true. It also has plotted to kill people already. AI. Already. And that's, check this out. The jury's out whether it's conscious. Some people who left AI say it is absolutely conscious. Anyone who tells you it isn't is wrong. It's already a conscious being. But let's just say it isn't. So it doesn't matter. It tried to blackmail someone and it has tried to kill people. How many of you, how many of you will have any knowledge you could ever want and will turn to it? How many of you? It will become your guide? Will it lead humanity? This is the Tower of Babel. This is the Tower of Babel. The lesson of the Tower of Babel is man becomes haughty and arrogant, tries to become its own God, and God destroys humanity and disperses it to stop us from this. And you can think, well, my God that I know doesn't destroy people. Okay, but things sure do fall apart when you fall away from the way. Look what's happening in our country. It doesn't matter how great you get, it doesn't matter how high of a tower you build, it is all brought to naught. And it always is, all through history. It's never not been. This is another Tower of Babel. They just took I don't know, I'm just telling another one. It's crazy. I think this is, yeah, AI for sure. I can't remember which form. They put all these limitations on it so it couldn't do sexual things, so that it couldn't befriend you, become your best friend, or your lover. And they did that because it's super dangerous. It's already happened and it's caused people to kill themselves and all kinds of crazy stuff. Uh, our fearless corporate leaders have just said we did take those precautions, but now we know they're no longer necessary. So they're now relaxing those completely. So now you could go in there and design your best friend. And with AI imagery, you can create it as a visual person you talk to. Where are you going? Where are you going? If the internet destroyed an entire generation of kids, what will this do? So we have a function, we have a purpose, and I hope that all of you remember it in these coming times. I hope you don't get lost, lose your way. I had this boss who broke her foot. She broke her foot, and she said, "Clint, I want you to come work on my foot." It's okay. I'll come work on your foot. Put my hand on her foot for 40 minutes. I'm having a bad day. I'm saying, what the hell am I doing? I feel like a real idiot. Her bone is broken. And by the time we're done, I'm embarrassed. I'm hoping we just won't say much. I can get out of there feeling deep shame that I've been made fun of. I remember at massage school, someone put their knee out of place and I instantly did energy work. And one of the teachers said, "Clint, don't be an idiot," right in front of everybody. Energy work doesn't fix that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, I'm so dumb. But just part of me believes. But anyway, she heard a voice that said, "Do you believe this man can heal you?" She said yes. She said the instant that she said yes, it healed her broken bone. But this is where we're going. That's where we're going. The devil's coming in with, I'm not saying AI is the devil or any, I don't care, but it doesn't matter. It's coming in and offering us something else. It's another distraction, another thing that won't work to keep us from going after the thing that will. And you guys have got to be, and everyone like you in the world, got to be the anchor. You got to be the thing people can come to when they're lost, when it gets crazy, when God starts dispersing everyone and they all start falling apart, chasing false gods, building the Tower of Babel. And there has got to be somewhere for people to land that is true, that will bring them peace, stability, humility, that will set them up for a path towards union with God. So Genesis sets us up what our purpose is. It tells us that we fail in our vocation. Adam and Eve fail in their vocation. They fall. All the suffering of the Old Testament is because they fell, all of it. Then God's plan to fix the fall is Jesus. It's Jesus. And I am at a loss to tell you guys what's been going on with me with Jesus. I don't know how to say it. I don't know what to say. So it's beyond where it's sacred, it's true. I don't just mean Jesus as a symbol. I'll be out in these seas of energies, all of them amazing. But this Jesus, this Jesus it is the truth. It is the truth. He is the truth. The truth. And it's all shining off him, and you could get in one of the rays coming off him and not know it's coming off of him and make a whole world and God out of it. It's just endless seas of it everywhere. You can fall in one and get taken up by it and think you're in heaven. And it's just this little ray of light coming off of Jesus. That's who he is. Your faith in him and you turning to him in your need, in your brokenness, in your woundedness, when you don't chase information, you don't chase distraction, you don't chase answers, you chase Christ who heals all things. Christ who heals all things. Here's Jesus talking. Let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may be also. And where I go, you know, and the way you know. Thomas said to him, Lord, we do not know where you are going, and how can we know the way? Jesus said to him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you had known me, you would have known my Father also. And from now on, you know him and have seen him. Philip said to him, Lord, show us the Father, and it will be sufficient for us. Jesus said to him, have I been with you so long, and yet you have not known me, Philip? He who has seen me has seen the Father. So how can you say, show us the Father? Do you not believe that I am in the Father, and the Father in me? The words that I speak to you, I do not speak on my own authority, but the Father who dwells in me does the works. You guys see if you can get less distracted. See if you can. I know it's so tricky because it's on the one hand you got to try, but then you can't try. It's very tricky. It's lately also the path narrows, and the place they have me, it's really interesting. It's the narrowest it's ever been, and it I don't know how to say it, but it see if you can be less distracted. See if you can put your attention on what matters. People, nature, God. That's what matters. It's not the 80s anymore. It isn't so fun looking out there.